Welcome to Health Center of Integrated Medicine. We're thankful you're here today and visiting with us. Listen, today I'm going to talk about something that's very, very important. We see it happen all the time, and here at Health Center we do a really, really good job of taking care of this particular type of patient. And I want to spend some time and talk about it. It's personal injury. What happens when you're involved in a personal injury case, or more specifically, an automobile accident? So let's just talk about some things that are important to do. What would be the very first thing you do? Well, listen, the very first thing after an accident that you want to make sure that you do is to be safe. In other words, if you're involved in an automobile accident, you're in a place where you're not safe, number one is your patient as a patient is to be cautious of what's going on around you and make sure you get to a safe place and off to the side of the road so you're protected and you don't have any problems. The second thing that you should do is obviously call the police. That would be important to do to make sure that everything is documented, that you know exactly what's happened, and of course if there's any injury sustained in the accident, that they would be the first people to help out in that particular case. That would be important. If it's a minor injury, and what I mean by a minor injury, a situation where maybe there's not an ambulance called to the scene, you want to make sure that you spend the time to get all of the information that you need from the people involved in the automobile accident. And even not only the people directly involved, but those that are around that are witnesses as a result of what's happened. Make sure you get all their contact information, their name, their phone number, and any other important contact information. That would be important for you to do. If you can, especially in today's world, we can take pictures right then and there with our cell phones, so make sure you take pictures, any bruising, any injuries specifically, and of course anything that you would need to do as far as pictures of your automobile as well. And last but probably not most important is that you would spend some time right away, as soon as you get things all cleared up, to make an appointment here at the office, to call our offices, let them know that you've been involved in an automobile accident and that you want to get in and get checked. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. What are some of the important things for you to do? I'd like to spend a minute and talk about this thing called MedPay. What is medical pay anyway on your insurance? A lot of times people say, I got full coverage on everything and I'm all ready to go. And really, full coverage in an insurance definition is really full coverage on your automobile. That means your automobile is going to be taken care of, but it may not mean that you're taken care of. So one of the things you'd want to do even right now is to go home or to get out your automobile policy and look to see if you have what we call medical pay or med coverage on your automobile insurance. That's specific coverage just for medical expenses that are involved as you're involved in an automobile accident. And really, $5,000 would be minimum. A lot of people ask us how much, 5 or 10,000. It's really fairly inexpensive per month to add that to your policy for protection. That protects you obviously for your care, if you need to be transported to the hospital, those types of things. Having that extra medical coverage is really really good thing to do, and it's pennies on the dollar really for the return there, so that's important. And so it's important that you make sure you do that. That way you're making sure you're covered completely. When you come to your appointment, what to bring? Obviously bring a copy of your policy. That would be important. Any reports that you have, police reports, accident reports, any other places that you've been, that would be important for you to do to make sure that we have everything that we need, and that way we can process your personal injury that much better. Well, let's talk about what would happen when you call the office here at Health Center of Integrated Medicine if you were involved in an automobile accident. The very first thing that we want you to know is we would sit down and listen to you, and we would find out exactly what's wrong, all of your physical complaints, that and above, as well as we would sit down with you and discuss what happened in the accident, so we would know exactly what happened in the accident. The next thing that would happen is we would do a complete examination, not only an orthopedic and neurological evaluation, but sometimes more extended evaluations if we need to call in our physician's assistant to do a more complete examination. We would do that to make sure that we've covered all the bases there. Neurologically, we'd check you for your reflexes, your cranial nerves, all of those things that would be important to really get detailed observation of as a result of an injury. The last thing that we would do is any specific test that we would do, for example, x-rays and any other further testing that we would do. Then what we would do is we would take all of that information that we compiled, we would put it all together in a complete report. We would sit down and we'd tell you what's wrong and why it's wrong. We would tell you what kind of a course of treatment that you would need. We would re-examine you along the way. We would do all the reports necessary, so we would put together a complete program to really take care of you. And also, like I just said, we would re-examine you along the way to see the progress, or if you weren't progressing, what kind of alternative program we would be able to provide for you. Well, here's the last thing that I want to talk about. So what would happen if you didn't get checked? And let's just spend some time and talk about that. Oftentimes somebody says, I was in an accident, it was no big deal, and I'm not hurt, and it's not going to be a problem at all, and so I'm not going to get checked, I'm not even going to worry about it. And I'd like to just address that here at Hill Center of Integrative Medicine. We think it's very, very important for you to get checked, even in a minor accident, to make sure that that it's documented that you were an injury, and in fact, if you have symptoms that happen later on, then we have it documented very well. Here's a common thing that happens. A patient will come into us and says, hey, I've got headaches, and it's been bothering me over here, and I've just noticed it's increasing. And we ask them, well, when did this start? And they say, well, I don't know, it's been going on for a couple months, but I was in this minor accident. It was really no big deal. Nothing ever happened. And that often is what happened. Now they're developing symptoms that are creating a problem, and now they're starting to affect their life. And initially, they should have been checked so that we can make sure that those types of things don't progress in the future. People that leave those initial type of things untreated, not only the headaches can progress, we can get changes in the neck, we can get radicular pain down the arm, numbness in the arm, those types, and into the hand, and loss of function. So it's very, very important, as well as other parts of the body, it's very, very important to get checked initially to make sure that we're doing the very best we can to make sure that in the future you don't have a problem. What I'd like to do now is we're going to show you some x-rays of what happens as a result of an accident and what could happen. The very first film you're going to see, it's to the far left-hand side, and it's what we call a normal cervical curve, or a picture of your neck. And basically what we're looking at there is a nice forward curve. You'll see the curve there. It's nice and forward. It's not creating any stress on the spine. The head weighing about 10 pounds sitting on top of that curve. It's important. That's what gives it a shock absorber type effect. And again, initially after an accident, we'll see the second picture there where you've reversed that curve. You've lost the normal, what we call spring action of the neck. And as a result of that, now that spine is under a lot of tension. And then left in that position, and here's what we see. We'll see this happen. We'll see that loss of the curve, and then we'll start to see the stressors that take place, where you're starting to see some degenerative changes take place in that middle part of your spine. They'll be minimal, but they'll start to develop. And then last but not least, left unattended, we'll see some more advancing degenerative changes. That's what you'll see in the third picture there, where you're starting to see some more advanced changes in the disc. We're seeing degeneration, we're seeing impingement of the nerve, and the patient's symptom picture, of course, progresses from there. So again, what this short education video has been about is what happens in a personal injury, the importance of getting checked, what we do here at Hill Center of Integrative Medicine to make sure that we're reducing the chance of you having trouble in the future. I guess the takeaway message is don't take an accident lightly. Make sure you do the right thing so that you don't create a problem in the future. Listen, we're just thankful that you're here. If you have any questions at all, make sure that on the comments section you can comment on that. Make sure you go ahead and take a look at our website at Hill Center. Make sure you take a look there. We have lots of information on there. We also have some other further educational videos, so make sure that you take a look at those. Make sure you like and subscribe us. And again, if you have any comments, make sure you comment there. You can contact us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you. And again, the takeaway message, if you've been involved in an accident, take the time to give us a call. Come in, we'll sit down and talk to you, do a complete examination, and do a good report of findings to know what's going on. So again, thanks for visiting.